Seto Kaiba. In the Yugioh manga, he stands as the eternal rival of our protagonist, fighting for the title of Duel King. His ambition is fueled by many things: revenge, hatred, pride, but none would ever make him king. Kaiba lost his parents at a young age. His relatives used up his inheritance and dumped him and his brother Mokuba in an orphanage. From the start, Kaiba was betrayed and abandoned. At an early age, he learned not to count on anyone but himself. But times weren't all bad at the orphanage. Kaiba had fun playing games with his brother, which gave birth to his dream. One day, the orphanage was visited by the president of Kaiba Corporation and Grandmaster chess player Gozaburo Kaiba, the man Kaiba would get his name from. The ambitious 10-year-old challenged him at chess. The prize he sought would help him keep his promise to his brother. He won, but at the cost of his integrity. This was the first time Kaiba cheated in a game, and it was the first, though indirect, lesson he would take from his stepfather. Winning means everything, and you must win, no matter the means. Kaiba's stepfather was a cruel man, abusing him for years in the name of creating his successor. But this plan backfired when Kaiba stole the man's company for himself. His stepfather declared that he lost their game, and this is what a loser deserves, before throwing himself out the window to his death. On that day, Kaiba received a second lesson from his stepfather. To lose is to die. Kaiba would come to abide by this rule, even applying it to the younger brother he once loved and protected. These lessons would have a profound effect on Kaiba, transforming him into a heartless monster. A demon festered in Kaiba's soul, corrupting his heart. But Kaiba wasn't without some redeeming qualities. He was intelligent. He inherited a weapons development company and turned it into the world's greatest games company. Kaiba would personally develop numerous incredible technologies, from lifelike holographic images to complex VR systems. He grew up to be a proud gamer. Despite his willingness to cheat, he developed genuine skill. He quickly came to dominate nearly every kind of game, but Kaiba was particularly drawn to duel monsters. Kaiba's confidence and ability, however, turned him into an elitist.
海馬もデュエルモンスターズやるのか？そりゃちょうどいいや。仲間が増えたぜ。
君たちにその資格があるのかな？僕はね、デュエルモンスターズじゃ全国大会で優勝するほどの腕なのさ。ま、君たちとはレベルが違うっていうか。
His arrogance was reflected in his play style. He refuses all paths to victory but the one with the most glory.
これが神のカード。
これで貴様も選ばれし神のカードの所有者。俺にとって敵とは常に最強でなければ気が済まない。でなければ貴様を倒す意味がないからな。
He saw himself as a king of games, though that would soon be challenged. In high school, Kaiba meets Yugi Mudo, the vessel for Atem, the spirit of an ancient pharaoh, and Kaiba's soon-to-be eternal rival. He overhears that Yugi's grandfather has a rare Duel Monsters card. He goes to see for himself and is shocked to find the elusive Blue Eyes White Dragon. Kaiba must have it. It's the rarest and most powerful card in the game. Yet there's something deeper going on. Unbeknownst to Kaiba, some powerful instinct was drawing him towards the dragon. But more on that later. Kaiba tries to steal the card, leading to his first duel with Atem. Initially, Kaiba dominates, but when he starts to lose, he sneaks the blue eyes into his hand to cheat his way to victory. This is his undoing. The magic that has brought the cards to life leads the blue eyes to turn on Kaiba, spelling his defeat. And his punishment? A waking nightmare that forces him to experience death at the hands of the game's monsters. But this attempt to teach Kaiba a lesson backfires. Rather than turn him away from his wicked path, it plunges him further into madness, and it confirms Gozaburo's lesson: to lose is to die. He builds Kaiba Land, the theme park that was his childhood ambition, but this is a twisted version of that dream, corrupted by his lust for vengeance. Within Kaiba Land, he forces Yugi and his friends to endure the aptly named Death Tea. Within are assassins, a serial murderer, and other death traps masquerading as games. Kaiba has but one all-consuming goal: to avenge the shame of his defeat with Atem's death. The final game of Death Tea is their Duel Monsters rematch. Despite collecting the remaining 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in the world, and destroying the 4th, Kaiba loses again. But this time, his penalty game is a little different.
償いの瞬間だぜ。マインドクラッシュ。お前の悪の心は砕け散った。カイは今闇の中で自分の心のかけらを拾い集めている。優しい心が少しでも残っているなら戻ってくるさ、きっと。
By Atem's mercy, Kaiba is given the opportunity to redeem himself and become a better person, though it might take some time. Months pass with Kaiba in a coma. Mokuba can do nothing but wait, hoping that Atem's promise will someday come to pass. The series continues, following the adventures of Yugi and his friends. Yet Kaiba's shadow lingers.
でもよ、なんで遊戯はトーナメントに出なかったんだ。
僕は決めたんだ。大会に出るときにはあの人と一緒にって。
海馬くんね。
今度はカードの心に目覚めた海馬くんともう一度正々堂々と。
俺は信用できねえぜ、あんなやつ。
兄様はお前にめちゃくちゃプライドを傷つけられて行方不明だ。そのせいで海馬コーポレーションはペガサスに乗っ取られようとしてるんだ。
海馬は今苦しんでいる。自分の力で本当のプライドを取り戻すために戦っているからだ。カードの心を掴んだ時、海馬は必ず帰ってくる。
Pegasus, the creator of Duel Monsters, holds a tournament on his private island, Duelist Kingdom. Yugi and friends are forced into the competition. Once there, they come across Mokuba and learn of the plot by Pegasus to steal Kaiba Corporation. While in the midst of figuring out how to stop him, Atem is challenged by a peculiar foe, a crude Kaiba puppet performed by a man that stole Kaiba's deck. The puppet appears to be possessed by part of Kaiba's soul, his undying grudge and thirst for vengeance. They duel, and the puppet eventually manages to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon. He commands it to attack, but it doesn't. It refuses. It's as if the dragon's loyalties lie elsewhere. The puppet falls to pieces. It's as though the piece of soul within has left the vessel. But if that's the case, then where's it gone? Kaiba awakens and at once heads for Duelist Kingdom. In stark contrast to the man that denied the existence of brotherly love, Kaiba has but one goal: to save Mokuba. Kaiba's different now. What exactly happened to him during his coma? The mind crush allowed him to unlearn the 2 lessons he got from his stepfather. Lesson 1. Win at any cost. Winning is still incredibly important to Kaiba, but his days of blatantly lying, stealing, and cheating are behind him. Moving forward, Kaiba upholds the rules, even when they don't benefit him.
さて決勝戦の行われる場所だが、その場所はこの町のどこかに隠されている。俺も諸君らと平等な条件でこの大会に臨むつもりだ。よって決勝戦の場所は俺さえ知らない。だが吠えるのは勝者にのみ与えられた特権。今はもくして引いてやるわ。アンティルールだ。このカードを受け取れ。
His integrity and honor have been restored. Lesson 2. To lose is to die. Kaiba still wants a rematch, but it's no longer poisoned by murderous intent. He wants to prove himself the superior duelist, not kill people. His bloodlust is gone. There is one scene that perfectly exemplifies this change. During Battle City, the tournament that follows Duelist Kingdom, a villain named Merrick forces Yugi and his friend Jonochi to duel in a twisted death trap. It's reminiscent of the contraptions from Death Tea, but this version of Kaiba is immediately repulsed by it.
遊戯と城之内のデスマッチだと。どちらか一方が確実に命を落とす戦い。そんなものはもはやデュエルではない。俺は認めん。
Once on the island, Pegasus forces Kaiba to duel Atem for the opportunity of saving Mokuba. It's in this duel that Kaiba will prove how far he's willing to go to protect his brother. Primarily, Kaiba wants to do good by Mokuba, by becoming the caring older brother he once was, the brother that hadn't yet been corrupted by Gozaburo's lessons. And to do so, he must first rescue him from Pegasus. The duel is heated, and it seems Kaiba might finally win, yet Atem is able to miraculously turn things around. As Kaiba's defeat approaches, he has a nightmarish hallucination of Mokuba's death. He fails to save him, and his younger self, the person he's trying so hard to be, looks at him with contempt.
なぜだ、なぜ助けない。自分の命を懸けてもなぜ助けようとしないんだ。
In desperation, Kaiba threatens to kill himself should Atem not concede.
俺に後はない。次のターン、貴様の攻撃で俺は真のライフを失うというわけだ。俺はデュエルで死ぬなら本望だ。
Yugi stops the duel, and Kaiba wins. He's willing to die for Mokuba's sake, but that isn't the only thing driving him to such an extreme act. Yugi's friend Anzu cuts to the heart of Kaiba's actions.
ゲームに負けたのは海馬くん、あなたの方よ。あなたは一番大切な命というチップを投げ出そうとした。あなたは自分に負けたのよ。最後まで自分と向かい合う勇気が持てなかったんだもの。
Kaiba understood Atem well enough to know he'd deal the final blow, even if it meant his death. Kaiba thought he was going to lose, that any hope of saving Mokuba would be gone. He decided he didn't want to continue living in a world where he failed Mokuba. That's why he outright told Atem to kill him. It was a suicide by duel.
ゲームとは合わせ鏡のようなものだ。自分の攻め手を自分ならどうかわすか。このデュエルで俺が貴様なら何の躊躇もせず俺を谷底に突き落とすだろう。遊戯、貴様のカードで俺の首をかき切れ。
Kaiba only lived because Yugi intervened. Sadly, the desperate act was in vain. Kaiba duels Pegasus for Mokuba's freedom, and loses. Yugi and Atem, coming to understand Kaiba's noble goal, take on Pegasus and win, freeing both brothers and finally allowing them to reunite.
兄様兄様兄様
木馬、遊戯、木馬を助けてもらったようだな。一つ借りができた。
Now that the puzzle of his heart is reassembled, Kaiba can again be the caring brother he once was. But this begs the question, what kind of person is Kaiba now? He's not the same guy that once tried to kill Yugi and friends, but how exactly has he changed, and how has he remained the same? I think Yugi's friend Bakura best summarizes the current state of Kaiba. He describes him as arrogant, selfish, and someone you can't get close to. But he risked his life to save his brother, so he can't be all bad. He is, undoubtedly, arrogant. He enters every situation with an abundance of confidence and is quick to boast.
やはり臆せず向かってきたか。それを確かめることができれば、この程度のライフポイントのマイナスなど安いものだ。戦いの生態系、戦いの食物連鎖、雑魚。 誇り高き獅子に触れることすら許されぬことを教えてやる。
And despite no longer being a psychotic murderer, Kaiba makes no effort to apologize for Death Tea and doesn't seem especially remorseful about it. He's also selfish. He doesn't care about the plight of others.
この準決勝の舞台で真の生贄は城之内貴様なのだ。ラー攻略のためのな。遊戯友の死を乗り越えこのデュエル場に立て。
And Kaiba's hard to get close to. He learned at a young age not to trust others. And this lack of trust has led him to view others as enemies.
俺を谷底に突き落とす非常さがあれば貴様は勝つことができた。デュエリストとして何と愚かな行為よ。戦いにおいて己以外は全てが敵。力とは敵を叩き潰し己の絶対領域を守るために与えられた武器なのだ。
Which is why he shows no mercy.
すでに奴は戦意を喪失している。これ以上の追い打ちは俺たちデュエリストの誇りに傷をつけるぜ。
敵を潰してこそ俺の誇りは保たれる。
This worldview is why Kaiba doesn't cooperate with others, refusing to rely on anyone but himself.
チームワークなど戦いにおいて枷になるだけだ。
He doesn't ask for help, even in dire situations, and when help is provided nonetheless, Kaiba is quick to return the favor and remove himself from their debt. He doesn't want to owe anyone anything.
お前のクリボーに救われたというのか。遊戯余計な真似を。
海馬。
勘違いするな。さっきのクリボーの借りはこれで返した。借りを作ったままにしておくのは俺の主義ではないからな。
But Kaiba isn't all bad. He cares about his brother and will protect him at all costs. When it comes to games, Kaiba has integrity and honor. And although he's still an arrogant elitist, he is capable of acknowledging the skills of others. Part of what makes his rivalry with Atem so intense is the immense respect he has for his dueling abilities.
遊戯俺が生涯無二と認めた誇り高きデュエリストよ。このまま無駄にターンを費やし死の宣告によって敗北を迎えるしかないのか。いやだが遊戯はこの状況をも覆す。この程度で奴のデュエリストとしての闘志は俺はしない。戦いの中で瞬時に戦術を分析し裏の裏を読み仕掛ける駆け引き。貴様は絶対的に不利な条件下でも笑みさえ浮かべながら数々の戦いに勝利し。
Even Jonochi, who Kaiba considers a deadbeat duelist, earns his respect when he proves himself.
これじゃ城之内のやつ本当に死んじまうよ。
ポンコツにしては上出来だ。褒めてやるぞ城之内よ。貴様の散りざま最後にデュエリストとして認めてやる。デュエリストとして本望だろう。もはや思い残すこともあるまい。
Following Duelist Kingdom, Kaiba meets an Egyptian woman named Ishizu. She shows him an ancient stone carving from a pharaoh's mortuary. Kaiba is shocked at what he sees. A pharaoh that looks like Yugi, commanding the dark magician, and a priest that looks like himself, commanding the blue eyes white dragon. Kaiba doesn't take this well.
いずれにせよ、今重要なのはあくまでこの王と神官の戦いの記述です。そして今も戦いは繰り返されている。
俺はこんな壁画など信じないぞ。これ以上馬鹿げたことを言うな。あまりに非科学的だ。
If Kaiba truly believed her implications were nonsense, why would he react so strongly? In reality, Kaiba senses there is truth in her words, but doesn't want to accept it. Later, we'll learn why Kaiba's in denial. Ishizu goes on to describe the legendary god cards.
この3枚のレアカードを全て手に入れた者は永遠不敗の伝説とともにデュエリストの頂点に君臨しキングオブキングスの称号を得ると言われている。
Winning has always been important to Kaiba, so this piques his interest and will begin an all-consuming obsession with beating Atem and becoming the king of duelists, the king of kings, the king of games. She explains that the cards were stolen. She entrusts Kaiba with one of the god cards, Obelisk, and tells him to hold a tournament so they can track down the remaining two. And thus begins Battle City. After a chaotic day of dueling, the tournament is narrowed down to the top 8. Kaiba is surprised to find that Ishizu is his opponent in the semifinals. She reveals this was all part of her plan, and that her real goal is to free her brother Merrick from the evil personality that controls him. But to do so, she needs to beat Kaiba. Her Millennium item allows her to see into the near future, so she knows every move Kaiba will make, and has constructed his downfall.
行け神よ
生贄のダク爆弾。そのトリガーはオベリスクが攻撃をかけた瞬間。それがあなたの未来。
Kaiba refuses to accept that fate is out of his control. All his life, he has fought and struggled to carve out his own future. He was nothing but an unwanted orphan, but through his own tenacity, he became the #1 gamer in Japan and the president of the biggest games company in the world. He chooses his own destiny.
俺は未来などに導かれたりはしない俺の踏み出したロードそれが未来となるのだ
And yet, everything goes precisely as Ishizu foresaw. That is, until...
攻撃このビジョンはこの胸を刺す悲しみはこれは何だブルーアイズよお前は俺に何を
Kaiba glimpses the past, and this allows him to change the future.
このひらめきを俺は信じる
バカな。私の見たビジョンにこんな未来はない。
But what did Kaiba see, and why did it make all the difference? "3,000 years ago, there was a high priest that served a mighty pharaoh. He was one of 6 sworn to protect the kingdom by the power of their millennium items against the darkness in men's hearts. The priest was fiercely loyal to the pharaoh and the kingdom.
私の行いは全てファラオとこのエジプトの大地のため良いかファラオは必ず生きておられる王国の平和を願う揺るぎなき信念は健在なのだ神官としてこの国のために
He was willing to do terrible things to protect them both, including torture and the sacrificing of others. He had an ends justify the means mentality, which would be put to the test when a powerful threat to Egypt emerged. In response, the priest sought to create a Ka strong enough to protect the kingdom. A Ka is a spirit that dwells within the soul and reflects the person's true nature. They are capable of leaving the body to do battle, making them valuable weapons.
民衆の中にはまだ潜在的にカーを宿した者がいるはずそのような人間を捕らえ我々の手によってその者の宿すカーを強力な兵器として開発するのです全てはファラオのためこれによってトガ人の数も減れば一石二鳥ではありませんか王宮繁栄のためには我が手を血に染めることも厭いません
The need for a powerful Ka only became more pressing when the pharaoh disappeared following a mighty battle and left the kingdom vulnerable. One day, during his search, the priest discovered a pale woman with blue eyes being harassed in the street. He was outraged at the senseless bigotry aimed at an innocent woman.
すぐにこの女を連行しろ十分な水と食料を与え解放するのだ野獣馬どもは散れさもなくば
When he learned that a Ka of great strength dwelled within the woman, he at once planned to extract it. By experimenting with criminals, the priest learned that the will to live strengthens a Ka, so prisoners were made to fight to the death. He had no objections to this. But when it came to the pale woman, his resolve faltered. This woman, Kisara, was kind, gentle, and innocent. How could he subject her to such abhorrent treatment?
お待ちください このようななされを目に余ります
But when his mentor stressed the importance of defending the kingdom, he relented, and Kisara was made to fight. However, during the rescue, Kisara's Ka emerged, proving itself even more powerful than initially suspected. But to the priest's horror, they realized the dragon was not actually a Ka, but the true form of the woman's soul. It couldn't be removed without killing her.
即刻あの女を殺し白き竜を引き離せ神をお前のものとするのだその時こそ王座はお前を迎え入れる新たなファラオとして
まだファラオの消息がわからぬ時に。
From the beginning, the priest was prepared to sacrifice her life for the greater good. Yet when the time came, he couldn't follow through. And when the pharaoh returned, he was relieved.
ファラオの消息がつかめたそうです。
何？ファラオが？はっ。早急にその女を他の部屋に移せ。誰にも悟られぬようにな。はっ。
There was no longer the same pressure to create a powerful Ka, so he immediately hid Kisara for her safety. Despite his loyalty to the kingdom, he would protect her. Even when darkness shrouded all of Egypt, and he was offered great power through her sacrifice, the priest refused.
瀬戸、その女を殺せ。それがお前の神降臨の儀式となる。白き竜と共に王となれ。我が息子よ。
アクナディン様、たとえあなたが父であろうと、私は闇に魂を奪う。
It was as she lay dying, killed by an agent of evil, that he finally confessed why. In the midst of his plotting and conniving, he had fallen in love with her. At the priest's heartfelt confession, the spirit of the kind and gentle woman made him a promise. Just as he protected her, she would protect him.
今度は私が瀬戸様を助ける番です。
キサラ。
瀬戸様、あなたの心は闇にとらわれてはなりません。
The bond between Kisara and the priest would prove so strong that it would transcend space, transcend time, and even transcend memory. In the priest's next life, he would be inexplicably drawn to the image of her spirit. He wouldn't remember exactly why, but he would trust and love the dragon, because even in that form, she still watched over and protected him. As Kaiba is about to declare Obelisk's attack, he's flooded with these feelings. He can't articulate it, but he grasps at a deep level that there is something, someone, looking out for him, a force he can believe in, a guardian he can trust.
人の心には神を超えて信じるべきものがある。俺はそれに従ったまでだ。
All of his instincts tell him to do one thing, trust the blue eyes, just as he always has.
相手がどんな手で来ようが、俺はどんな時であろうとブルーアイズと共に戦う。このカードに全てをかける。俺の信じたカードはブルーアイズホワイトドラゴン。
今ユウの心にブルーアイズへの愛情を感じました。
And so, Kaiba does the unthinkable.
手札にあるブルーアイズを召喚するために必要な生贄は2体。ならば
まさか
我がしもべのために生贄となれ。
オベリスクを神を生贄に。
俺のプライド、俺の魂を受け継ぎし、しもべの姿、いでよ、ブルーアイズホワイトドラゴン。
未来の姿を変えた。
Despite his fierce obsession with the god cards and his belief that they would make him the Duel King, he chooses to sacrifice God for her.
石津、貴様の見た未来とやらにブルーアイズは登場したか。いなかったようだな。これが俺の未来だ。行け、ブルーアイズ。
And so, Kaiba claims the future as his own and defies fate. In the wake of his victory, Kaiba's focus shifts to his long-awaited rematch. He would claim the title of Duel King, and more importantly, a victory over the wretched past. You see, Kaiba hates the past, because his is filled with nothing but anger and suffering.
幼少の頃に親を失った俺たち兄弟は薄汚い大人どもによって施設暮らしを強いられ、海馬郷三郎の養子となってからは醜い家族像と休む間もない英才教育を押し付けられた。陰謀と謀略が渦巻く世界で俺は全ての実権を握った。海馬コーポレーションの破壊と再生、復讐の後には新たな憎しみが生まれる。俺の過去には憎しみと怒りしか存在しない。俺は未来にしか興味はない。過去など踏みつけるために存在する。
Kaiba focuses on the future and regards any fixation on the past as a blatant weakness.
今の貴様は自分の心が築き上げた因縁、過去の鎖にとらわれた哀れな囚人だ。過去を追い求める者に光はない。未来に背を向け、過去へと敗北へと続くロードを歩むがいい。遊戯、貴様の弱点は くだらん幻想から抜け出せないことにある。
To Kaiba, Atem represents the past.
遊戯、貴様は過去の象徴なのだ。
This is why Kaiba is determined to destroy Atem and the abominable past with him. To Kaiba, that's the only path that leads to the future.
それを粉砕することが俺の未来を輝かしいものにする。デュエルキングの称号を手に入れた時にこそな。俺はこのターンで貴様をねじ伏せ、俺の記憶に救う石板ごと粉砕してくれるわ。俺の未来、それはこの戦いを制した先にある。俺がなぜ貴様との戦いに執着したか、俺もその答えを求めこのバトルシティを戦ってきた。そしてその答えを見出したのだ。遊戯、貴様はあの石板に記された記憶とやらを追い求め戦ってきた。それは過ぎ去った戻らない時間を過去を追い求める愚かな行為でしかない。遊戯、俺はこの場で忌まわしい過去とともに貴様を葬り去る。
And the meaning placed upon the past is not the only point on which the two are diametrically opposed. They also disagree on where true strength is to be drawn. For Kaiba, it is this hatred of the past that fuels him and pushes him forward.
感情は時にデュエリストの判断を誤らせる。そこに隙が生じ、敵の術中に陥ることになる。
戦いとは怒りだ。憎しみと怒りこそが俺にパワーを与えてきた。全てを支配する力をな。
Kaiba's hate-filled past is also why he doesn't trust others and believes cooperation is a weakness. He relies on his own strength alone.
チームワークなど戦いにおいて枷になるだけだ。遊戯、お前は俺が勝利するための飾りに過ぎん。俺にとって勝利とは己自身の手で勝ち取ってこそ価値のあるもの。
Atem believes precisely the opposite. He draws his strength from friendship and unity.
今俺たちに牙を向く2匹のグールスのコンビネーションは完璧だ。この戦い、俺たちの力を結束しなければ到底グールズを倒すことはできない。
遊戯は俺のブルーアイズを蘇生させると同時に敵モンスターを倒す秘策を立てていたというのか。そこまで計算して手札抹殺を。
これが結束の力だ。友から預かったこのカード、友の力こそが俺に勝利をもたらしたんだ。
Predictably, they butt heads on these differences in philosophy. Prior to the semifinals, Kaiba challenged Atem to prove cooperation was anything but a weakness.
貴様はレアハンターどものタッグデュエルでこの俺に結束の力なんぞを解いてみせたな。だがこの状況、城之内と貴様が互いを潰し合うために戦うことになったら、そのどこに結束の力などが介在する余地がある。
Atem's power of unity was put to the test when the villainous Merrick took control of Jinochi and forced them to duel to the death. In the end, Yugi chose to sacrifice himself for his friend. And by Jinochi's effort and Kaiba's help, everyone made it out alive. Regardless of the fortunate outcome, Kaiba had his answer. To Atem, unity was a strength, but to Kaiba, it was a glaring weakness that would inevitably lead to one's downfall.
デュエリストである限り、仲間であろうが立ちはだかる者は倒さなければならない。それがデュエリストの宿命。そうしなければ先に進むことはできない。
It's in this rematch that these philosophies will be tested once more. Atem will again try to convince Kaiba of the merits of unity, while Kaiba will let hatred and solitude give him strength. The future versus the past. Hatred versus friendship. Solitude versus unity. They begin their duel, and it's a race to summon God. Atem gets his out first, but Kaiba's not far behind. Both gods attack, but their strength is equal. The collision causes another memory to surface. A duel 3,000 years old between a pharaoh of Egypt and a high priest. A dark magician and a blue-eyes white dragon. This vision reaffirms the true battle underlying their duel.
この戦い、3000年を超え受け継がれた宿命のデュエルってことをな。
神との激突でどんなトリックが起きたのかは知らん。だが俺には過去の幻想などどうでもいい。俺はこの場で貴様を倒し、デュエルキングの称号を手に入れ、俺の未来を切り開くのみ。そしてこのデュエルが3000年前の再現というのならそれもいい。ならば今この瞬間にその全てを完膚なきまでに打ち砕いてやる。過去に向いてしか生きられん貴様をその過去もろとも葬ってやる。
Atem tries to reach out to Kaiba, to make him understand why his reliance on hatred will inevitably fail.
仮に俺を倒すことができても、その先にあるのは終わりなき憎しみの連鎖。貴様は憎しみの闇から永遠に抜け出すことはできない。憎しみを束ねても、それは脆い憎しみと怒り。そんなもので勝利の重圧を受け止められるか。
Kaiba may have escaped the corruption of his stepfather's lessons, but he's still chained by his own blinding resentment and mistrust of others. Atem has no such hang-ups, and that makes the difference. When it seems Kaiba might win, one card in Atem's hand changes the outcome. The card entrusted to him by Jonochi, his friend.
ここまでなのか、俺は。負けんな、ユギ。お前言ってたじゃねえか。手札には必ず可能性が秘められてるってよ。手札。そうか。ドラゴンを呼ぶ笛の効果は手札にあるドラゴン族を特殊召喚させる。だがその効果はお前の手札だけに発動するわけじゃない。
And that leads to Atem's victory.
幸三郎によって刻みつけられた憎しみを抱え、復讐のモニュメントデュエルタワーの頂上に立ち、貴様を倒すことが俺の目的。俺のデュエルキングの称号。俺が負けた。貴様が負けたもの、それは己の中に救う憎しみという名のモンスターだ。心の中にある怒り、憎しみ、欲望。敵は自分の中にも存在するんだ。それら全てを打ち負かした時にこそ真のデュエリストの道が開かれる。
But the truth doesn't sink in for Kaiba just yet. Too fixated on the humiliation of defeat, he makes to leave with Mokuba. He set the island to explode in a couple hours. It's the last remnant of when Kaiba Corporation was a weapons development company, and he wants this symbol of the past destroyed. The others will have a ship to leave on after the final duel between Atem and Merrick, so Kaiba has no need, or desire, to stick around. Ishizu stops him. Without Kaiba's help, Atem won't beat Merrick. If she has any hope of saving her brother, she needs Kaiba's cooperation. She tries to convince him, but her arguments fall on deaf ears. Mokuba too wants Kaiba to help. After learning Kaiba's view on the past, he's concerned.
兄様は遊戯を倒すことで過去を忘れようとしているの。それなのに昔見せてくれた本当の笑顔さえも忘れてしまうの。お願い兄様、約束して。このデュエルタワーを沈めるのは兄様の憎しみを消し去ることだって。そして昔の兄様に戻ってほしいんだ。
俺に憎しみを捨て去ることができようか。たとえこのデュエルタワーを海に沈めたとしても。
Kaiba doesn't know if he could let go of his hatred, even if he wanted to. Regardless, he doesn't think he's wrong, so he's not prepared to try. Kaiba's still determined to leave when Ishizu makes a comment that stops him in his tracks. If she can't save her brother, she's prepared to sink to the bottom of the ocean with the island. Just like Kaiba was prepared to die when he thought he'd failed to save Mokuba during Duelist Kingdom. Kaiba turns back to give Atem the one card he needs to beat Merrick. What's interesting is that this decision has nothing to do with Atem. It's entirely for Ishizu's sake that he decides to help. And it's all because he empathizes with her plight. This choice is driven by sympathy rather than hatred, and that will be important. Kaiba decides to stick around and watch the duel, just to confirm that this power of unity nonsense will fail.
奇跡などない。友の力など無力。遊戯、貴様の敗北がその証となるのだ。
Atem wants to help Kaiba, to steer him off his dark path, so he accepts the card, even with Kaiba's taunting.
もちろん、そのカードをデッキに入れるかどうかは貴様の自由だ。
カイバ、俺は貴様を信じる。
He knows Kaiba wouldn't sabotage him, especially not in this manner, so he chooses to believe in him, to prove that such trust is a strength, not a weakness, and to demonstrate that the past he fights to reveal is not meaningless. Although he denies it, Kaiba has already experienced both of these truths. He believes unity is a weakness, but he already saw its strength for himself. Earlier, he and Atem were forced into a tag team match against a couple of ghouls, and it was only through their excellent teamwork that they were able to defeat them. Despite this, Kaiba stubbornly stuck to his philosophy of solitude, validated by the deathmatch between Yugi and Jonochi. And Kaiba believes the past should be destroyed, but that's only because he's forgotten that the past holds things other than anger and hatred. It was thanks to a memory of the past, one born of love and not hatred, that Kaiba beat Ishizu and changed the future. This is the truth Atem has already accepted. Sometimes, the past is the key to unlocking the future.
海馬よ、過去のない奴に未来は訪れはしない。過去が積み重なって今があり、そして未来へ続いていく。どんな過去も無意味なんかじゃない。全ては今の、そして未来の自分へとつながっているんだ。
It will take this final battle between Atem and Merrick to finally prove Kaiba wrong. And in the end, Atem does just that. He wins this battle to reveal his past, and he does so by relying on the power of unity. He won thanks to the 2 cards he got from Kaiba, someone he trusts and considers his friend.
覚悟しな遊戯。ラーの攻撃。リバースカードオープン。デビルズサンクチャリ。あの追い詰められた状況で引いたというのか。あのカード、それが友の力だと、奇跡だというのか。メタルデビルは相手プレイヤーの写しみ。ラーがメタルデビルを攻撃した瞬間、貴様はライフポイントを失い敗北する。だがデビルズサンクチャリはラーの能力を封じ込めるためだけのものではない。デビルズサンクチャリは神を封じ、神を呼ぶ力。
ユーギは瀬戸から譲り受けたもう1枚のカード、オベリスクを。
メタルデビルトークン3体を生贄に捧げる。
Having seen it with his own eyes, Kaiba has no choice but to accept the truth.
この瞬間、バトルシティデュエルキングの称号は貴様に与えられたのだ。大会主催者としてその栄光を称えてやる。
お前から受け取ったカードがなければ俺は勝利することはできなかった。
And he can finally be free of that hatred that has haunted him for so long. The only question remaining is, where does he go from here?
憎しみの果てに真の勝利はない。今は敗れて憎しみに打ち勝て、友の力こそが俺に勝利をもたらしたんだ。友の力か。このバトルシティ、俺のデュエルキングを目指す戦いであったと同時に、俺の心に救うゴーザブローの怨念との戦いでもあった。それで俺は奴に打ち勝つことができたのか。この先、俺が進むべきロード。
For the first time, Kaiba looks into the past for his answer. And unlike before, his mind slips through the hardship and agony to find a happy memory, one that his hatred had made him blind to for so long.
遠いあの日、木馬と誓い合った夢。
いいか木馬、兄さんの夢はな、世界中に遊園地を作ることなんだ。この施設にいるような親のいない子供はただで遊べる遊園地だ。
俺の心もまたこのアルカトラズのように瓦礫に埋もれていたのかもしれない。瓦礫の底に眠る俺のロード。
兄様はな、世界会話ランド計画のためにこれからアメリカに行くんだぜ。
いずれ貴様らも招待してやる。
And so, the man fueled by anger finally lets it go. But this doesn't mean that Kaiba has given up on becoming the king of duelists. That obsession is still alive and well. He's determined to face Atem once more, and finally prove himself the superior duelist.
ユギ、デュエルキングの称号とプライドはしばらく貴様に預けておく。ユギ、俺たちの戦いに終わりはない。
However, Kaiba's plans for a fated rematch end up hitting a bit of a snag. Atem was sent to the underworld after losing to Yugi in a ceremonial duel. Kaiba can't accept this. He is Atem's true rival. It should have been his task to defeat him and finally claim the title of Duel King.
ユギ、いや、アテムを葬らなければならなかったのは俺自身だった。それを果たせなかった俺の意識には今も奴の亡霊がさまよい続ける。
With Atem gone, Kaiba could just proclaim himself the de facto king. But he respects Atem too much to do so, and his pride requires he earn the title. This means that if Atem is truly gone forever, Kaiba will never be king. Kaiba has been robbed of his chance to retake the crown, and he won't take that lying down. So Kaiba searches for a solution. He develops the Duel Links world, a virtual reality system comprised of people's synced brainwaves. It's a world constructed from the minds and memories of its users, and will be the next evolution in dueling technology. But it serves another purpose, a means of connecting this dimension to that of the underworld. One day, a mysterious girl appears before Kaiba, one of the testers. She says she heard the voice of someone in the Duel Links world, someone that no longer exists in this dimension, but in the realm of the dead. Kaiba seizes this chance, launching himself headfirst into the Duel Links world, heedless of the extraordinary danger. The girl warns him that a world of demons beyond the mental limits of ordinary humans lies ahead. But Kaiba isn't afraid. He doesn't care, as long as it lets him put an end to the dead king. But it wasn't meant to be. Fearing for Kaiba's life, Mokuba shuts down the system and pulls him out. He nearly killed himself in the process, but it was worth it. He glimpsed him, in the distance. Atem. And as he drew near, his blue eyes turned to light and took new shape. The silhouette of Kisara appeared before him. These images confirmed that the underworld is real and accessible. It was no hallucination this time. The Duel Links world won't allow Kaiba to safely travel there, so he'll need to investigate other methods. Still, this proves that it's possible. This development is a result of Kaiba embracing the past, because embracing the entirety of his past means accepting the existence of the supernatural. This is illustrated during Kaiba's duel with the villainous Diva. You see, Kaiba's new dual disc technology allows the user to rely on their memory to populate their decks and summon monsters.
デッキとしてのカードは存在せず、全世界のカードデータはクリスタルクラウドネットワークによってディスクに転送され、その量子情報は大脳の記憶領域と連動し、あらゆるデュエル情報が脳内映像となって空間に可視化される。
When his back is against the wall, Kaiba reaches deep into the past and summons the god, Obelisk. Not the obelisk once given to him by Ishizu, but the Obelisk of ancient Egypt.
この神聖なる領域の残留意識ともいえるファラオの記憶を海馬奴は読み取ったというのか。しかもファラオのしもべであったオベリスクを。
Kaiba was able to summon the god from the pharaoh's memories, because he was there 3,000 years ago. Before, Kaiba adamantly denied this past along with the existence of supernatural powers as a whole.
俺は奴の姿さえ見たことがない。分かっているのは俺同様、千年アイテムを持つものだということだけだ。
バカバカしい。またあの悪趣味なオカルトグッズか。
瀬戸、この千年タウクには未来を見通す力が秘められています。
また例のオカルトグッズか。貴様らのくだらん冗談は聞き飽きたぞ。貴様は俺たちが見たビジョンにこだわりすぎているようだな。だが教えてやる。くだらん幻想の正体を無意識に脳が記憶した石板に描かれたファラオと神官の姿によって生み出されたイメージ。3000年前のファラオだと笑わせるな遊戯。今の貴様は自分の心が築き上げた因縁。
But by acknowledging this past, Kaiba also accepts that these powers are real and tangible.
ここか。王の魂が武藤遊戯と最後に戦い現世を去った場所。
As a result, Kaiba can now use technology to harness, dominate, and subvert these powers.
さあ、低次元に消え去れ。見よ。
まさかあのデュエルディスク、あれが奴の自我を増幅させ、我らの力を跳ね返した。
貴様らが何者であろうが、そんな力がこの俺に通じると思ったか。
And so, he can use technology to reunite with Atem. Using this new tech, Kaiba experiments with recreating Atem from his memories.
奴の膨大な記憶データも解析し、俺の脳神経とリンクさせ、完全なる武藤遊戯の実体化に成功した。
But it's no good. Kaiba wins, but only because the real Atem's skills haven't been captured in this simulation. There's no meaning in victory unless it's against the real deal. His pride will accept no less. And so, he enacts a plan to pull Atem back to this dimension. His team collects the pieces of the Millennium Puzzle, the object which housed his soul for thousands of years. Meanwhile, Kaiba constructs a space station for putting together the puzzle.
でも兄様、遊戯はこのパズルを完成させるのに8年かかったって言うけど。
所詮は子供レベルの頭脳。
この装置はパズルのパーツを3次元レーザースキャナで解析し、それぞれのパーツ断面の合成パターンのシミュレーションを 0.1 秒間に10万通り行えます。宇宙空間を利用し、無重力状態でパズルパーツをスキャニングすれば、どのような角度からも完全なる復元シミュレートが可能となる。計算上では6時間以内でパズルは完成します。
To say that Kaiba's obsessed would be an understatement. Not only does he nearly kill himself trying to get to the underworld, he devotes all his company resources to developing revolutionary technology for the sole purpose of getting a rematch. Kaiba has taken the world from VHS to touchpads and holograms in the same time it took Yugi to graduate from high school, and all for his singular pursuit. Due to Diva's meddling, Kaiba is missing 2 pieces of the puzzle. Diva has one, and another ends up in the hands of Yugi. Kaiba holds a tournament so he can challenge them both for their pieces. He'll then complete the puzzle and resurrect Atem in Yugi. He wants to duel Diva first, but Yugi has a score to settle.
カイバ君、僕の友達は相上君の力で別の次元に送られてしまった。僕はその仲間をバクラ君を取り戻す。だからこれは僕のデュエルなんだ。僕は必ず大切な仲間を取り戻す。
よかろう。そいつと戦ってみろ。この俺の前で。
Kaiba might not think much of Yugi, but as we've seen before, he can empathize with his desire to protect someone. When it comes time for their duel, Kaiba is anything but friendly.
残念だが俺の倒すべき相手は貴様ではない。器という牢獄に今一度王の魂を宿らせ、俺と戦う囚人となってもらうことのみ。
This is the last hurdle standing between him and his long-sought goal. Kaiba makes it plain that he views Yugi as nothing more than the vessel for his true rival.
遊戯、貴様はただの器だということを思い知らせてやる。
Partway through their duel, Yugi tries to explain to Kaiba that his efforts are in vain.
この千年パズルにもうアテムはいない。僕はその事実に気づいていたよ。最後のピースを手にした時から君がアテムと戦うために僕を呼んだのももちろん理解している。でもこれが真実なんだ。
認めんぞ遊戯。断じて俺は貴様を倒し王の魂を降臨させる。
Kaiba is so driven by his obsession that he refuses to believe the truth seen with his own eyes. The duel rages on, with Kaiba determined to thrash Yugi and prove him wrong. But then, something remarkable occurs. Something that Kaiba never dreamed was even a possibility.
Black Magic!
Kaiba loses, but not to Atem. He loses to Yugi, who Kaiba had considered nothing more than a vessel. It's in this moment that he comes to a harsh realization. Kaiba was never the Duel King, but neither was Atem. It was Yugi the whole time. In that sense, his obsession was for naught. It was a misguided goal from the start. Kaiba now knows, for certain, that he will never be the king of duelists. That title belongs to Yugi, the one that beat both him and Atem fair and square. Upon this realization, Kaiba smiles. There is no rage or disappointment. There is acceptance, as well as relief. Kaiba can finally let go of his obsession. This is further proven by what follows. Diva is corrupted by the evil of the Millennium Ring. In response to his monstrous transformation, Kaiba says,
Yugi, まだ戦う気力は残っているか?
He no longer views Yugi as an inferior duelist. When trouble emerges, he immediately teams up with him to defeat this foe. The old Kaiba never would have chosen to rely on someone else, and he especially wouldn't have done so with a duelist he thought weak. This one line demonstrates the respect he's gained for Yugi's abilities. And when hope seems lost, Kaiba, the man that could once be described as completely selfish, chooses to sacrifice himself for Yugi. Why?
やつだ。これを。やつを呼べ。やつを。
Yugi may believe Atem won't return, But Kaiba knows him well. If his friends need him, he'll come back. After all, who was the one espousing the power of unity and friendship? And Kaiba's right. When Kaiba and Yugi depart, it's on friendly terms and with a sense of closure.
カイバ君、僕は諦めかけていたのに、君は信じていたんだね。
そいつはどうかな。さらばだ、ユギ。貴様もまた誇り高きデュエリストだった。
But Kaiba's not done with Atem just yet. If he couldn't get Atem to come to him, then he'd go to Atem. Before, Kaiba couldn't safely make the trip through the Duel Links world. But after incorporating the magic cube Diva left behind, it becomes possible.
Dual Dimension System! 作動!
Kaiba will at last get his rematch. But this time, it's not for revenge, not out of hatred, and not out of pride. This time, it will be just as Atem hoped for.
カイバ、俺は貴様を倒す。バトルシティ、戦いのロードを共に歩んだライバルとして、そして友として。カイバ、俺は貴様というライバルがいたからこそ、戦い続けることができた。より高みを目指して。カイバ、貴様にとってもそれは同じはずだ。ならば、ライバルと友、その境界線はどこにある？
This time, it will be a duel between friends. Kaiba will never be king, but that's okay, because he's already won so much more. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like. If you want to support me, there's super thanks below, and I have a Patreon. In the meantime, feel free to check out another one of my videos. Till next time.